mean, I've played CTR and I've played C&K. Nitro Fueled isn't out yet. I mean, what else is there? Huh? What the? Crash Tag Team Racing? Burn up the road with the best Crash game ever? What? I remember this game. Oh, I remember.
This game. Oh boy. When you enjoy a game but for the wrong reasons. This game I feel does get a lot of hate, so I hope to at least talk about some positives as well. However, it doesn't mean I will only talk about the positives, believe me.
Some people seem to think that this game was what caused the downfall for Crash Bandicoot in the PlayStation 2 era. Now, I don't entirely agree, but I can understand why people would think this way. But enough of me rambling on, let's go and see what all the fuss is all about, shall we?
New character Von Clutch is holding a race at his theme park. His power gems and the one powering him since he's a robot have been stolen. Problem is he needs more racers when coincidentally Team Crash is being chased by Team Cortex, now with Nina Cortex from Twinsanity when they all end up crashing in front of him. And with that, he has his races. Von Clutch offers the deed to his theme park to whoever recovers the gems, and racing for him is another newcomer by the name of Pasadena. Cortex agrees as he has intentions to make the park his new base, and I guess Team Crash just does it to stop Cortex. There's no interaction with them. You race on 3 tracks on 5 different areas within the park and gain next area's gem. Pretty simple story, and if anything the story is kind of an afterthought. There are very few cutscenes in the game to the point where I forget there's a story with a sort of hidden plot. The game starts like a sports game presented by new characters, Chick and Stu. They're alright, it's an interesting idea, but they kinda drop it almost immediately. Also, the jokes are a bit cringy. At the time of me editing this video, they dropped a new Nitro Fueled trailer with Chick and Stu hosting. What did they reveal? Well, if you haven't seen it yet, I won't spoil it for you. Trust me, you'll want to check it out. Anyway, back to Tag Team Racing. The racers suggest that someone is reading the tracks and suspect it has something to do with Wumpa Whip, which they sell at the park. Crash, being the one who happens to be drinking Wumpa Whip, is accused without second thought. And I thought Coco was supposed to be the smart one. Turns out it wasn't Crash, because of course it wasn't. It was Von Clutch's mascot, this fruit guy who stole his power gem because, to be honest, I don't even know. They don't do a good job of explaining his intentions. It's kind of all over the place. Like I said, it just sort of feels like a non-factor, you know? He escapes to the last area of the game. You reach him, have an epic boss fight by pulling a lever. Wow man, that was tough. Cortex vaporizes him, Crash throws a chicken which stops Cortex, and yeah, that's that. You know, I really don't care about the story, and it feels like the game doesn't either. At least C&K had a stronger story for sure, and it at least tries to pull you in.
Okay. We've talked about the story. I think it's about time we delved into the main game. I'm going to do things a little bit different this time, guys. I'm going to give you the good, I'm going to give you the bad, and I'm going to give you the funny. Basically, anything that I find funny, from glitches to maybe a cutscene, anything like that. So, let's get started with the good.
The game is easy when you know what it wants you to do. The game is called Tag Team Racing for a reason. In a race, press the triangle button when near another racer to attach yourself to them, combining your cars together. One of you drives while the other handles the turret. Depending on who you combine with, the turret is different. You can even swap weapons with the square button. It is pretty satisfying blowing up the cars. We also have mini games. I really enjoy the bowling mini game personally. We also have battle arenas for those who just want to blow cars up. Stunt tracks so you can do some tricks to rack up points. It's nothing too complicated, it's pretty simple. We've also got turret games shooting things down. You get to explore the areas on foot so you get some of that platforming that Crash fans are used to. Collect coins to exchange for alternate costumes for characters. Those costumes in Nitro Fueled? Yeah, they are from this game. This is also a fairly short game and pretty easy to 100% if you want to. The areas you go to all have different themes, which looks cool. I'm not a huge fan of the graphic style, but it's not terrible. You can even interact with certain objects which unlock secret paths on a racetrack, and I actually think this is pretty clever. The tracks themselves uses the themes to their advantage and come up with some cool ideas throughout the track. Nothing too amazing, but it works.
Now for the bad.
Have you noticed something about what I have said so far? The game is called Tag Team Racing. Racing. And what have I considered positives of the game? A bowling mini game. Yeah, that's not good. This game doesn't know what to do. It throws platforming at you, a bunch of different mini games. And when it remembers, it throws racing at you. In quotations. When I buy a game with racing in its name, the first thing I think of is shooting down chickens. Of course. Racing really isn't the focus, and it clearly doesn't know what to do. Okay, cool. We can run around the park and do platforming like normal Crash. Problem is, it's just pointless padding. It isn't necessary when the focus should be the race. The controls for the platforming could use some work. I always feel nervous making jumps thinking I'm going to overjump the platform. Though, if you die, it means nothing anyway. Also, the park is actually filled with people, like actual people other than Cortex and Engine. For some reason, they seem to follow Crash wherever he goes. They're surrounding me. No, leave me alone. I'm out. Get wrecked. You have these dioramas with Crash dying in various different ways. He can interact with certain objects for a short diorama scene. Someone on the team was clearly sadists when making this game. This game is crude. To put it bluntly, it's not subtle at all. The appeal is clearly towards kids/early teens with its rude jokes, Looney Tune-like deaths, and goofy characters. Think like Twinsanity, where they were trying to go for a more comedic vibe, which I think they did a good job, but this is way more over the top. All the characters are now trying too hard to be funny. Engine is just now straight up crazy. Coco talks in long sentences. Crunch sounds like a Misty T knockoff.
Enough jibber jabber! I need help!
Yeah, that's exactly what I think when it comes to Crunch. Quit your jibber jabber, Crash. Let's race. Crash makes weird noises for some reason. Oh, did I mention the best part? Press the triangle and the square button on the loading screens. Can't be crude without burping and farting, am I right? Best loading screen ever! You know, I could see myself liking it a bit more when I was younger, considering the fart noises I would make with my arms.
Man, I was a disturbed child.
This type of comedy can work, but this game takes it, blows it up, and then runs with it. It's like when you make a funny joke, but then you keep trying to milk the joke to the point it ain't funny anymore. Or in this case, it wasn't funny, but you still continue the joke anyway.
Well, that's certainly crash and burn, am I right, guys? Guys? Guess my joke was so clever, even Cortex couldn't come up with it. Oh, I know. What do you call Crash's sister on fire? Oh, Coco! Yeah!
So what about the actual racing then? Well, for starters, we have Crash, Coco, Crunch, Cortex, Engine, Nina Von Clutch, and Pasadena. But wait, You can only choose between Crash and Cortex to start off with. Now don't get me wrong, we've unlocked characters before, but what I don't understand is that you can race against everyone, and yet Crash has to do things for the other characters in order to unlock their car. So wouldn't that mean they can't participate in the race, yet they are in the race? What I think they should have done was have them unlocked, but you do missions to unlock new cars or customization. It really does not matter who you choose to win, it does not affect the story at all. Here we go, finally talk about the racing in this game. Well, if it wasn't obvious, this ain't no CTR or C&K. We have actual cars this time, and cars feel slow unless you're the AI. You can power slide, but it doesn't act the same. You press and hold the square button while steering to increase your boost meter. Only when it is max, you can unleash your boost. At times, I feel like sliding is actually slower compared to how previous titles handled it. The cars feel heavy to control. We now have even more crazy items like chickens, monkeys, cows. Hey yo, someone better call the zookeeper because I think I found his missing animals. So I mentioned the tag team mechanic, right? Simple enough and can be quite fun. If only it wasn't the entire game. Like, I'm not kidding, if you are not tagged with someone for the entire race, you will most likely lose. It's almost near impossible, though I have not tried it on easy mode. However, want your hard mode to be easy? Attach yourself to someone, let them drive, and just shoot everything down. Easy victory, every time. Engine or Nina have the best weapons, so try to either tag with them or use that character. This game requires no skill. No effort. The challenge is trying to win without being attached to them, which they clearly don't want you to do. I enjoyed this for the first few tracks, but then get bored of it. Get used to doing this though, because this is the entire game. If you don't want to handle the turret, you can drive and let the CPU do it. If you run out of ammo, just detach then reattach. It's like you're a parasite. You jump onto your host, use them for your goal, and then when you're done with them, detach and then win. That is literally what you do to beat the game. Can you call that racing though? It's more like Twisted Metal game. If you're looking for a skilled racing like previous games, you will not find it here. Also, what is this music? The tracks I never felt to be memorable, if I'm honest. I always forget about the game till someone brings it up, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that game. I remember liking the bowling minigame.
And now for the funny.
What's going on there? I'm sorry, but this is way more funny than fart jokes.
You know, the problem with this game is that it's misleading. That's why I can't recommend it. Does it want to be a platformer? Does it want to be a racing game? Does it want to be a battle arena? It's trying to do too many different things, whereas the focus should be racing. It's in the title, and the racing isn't even that good in the game. If I were to give this to a friend who's never played this before, and the first thing they see is platforming, they're probably going to think I gave them the wrong game. I'm going to stick with CTR if that's alright with you.
Speaking of Crash Team Racing, if you haven't seen already, make sure to check my review on screen, and also check out my 5 Reasons to Play Team Sonic Racing, because it's honestly another great racing game.